JD Vance, the vice president, just confirmed that Ilhan Omar committed immigration fraud. That's what our vice president is saying. He, of course, is leading the fraud task force. And in this video, we are going to be going over a 68-page lawsuit that gives DNA evidence of immigration fraud. People have been looking into this for a long time, and they're saying that there's DNA evidence. And so get comfy because this is going to be a long one. We're going to be going through the entire thing. But recently, Benny Johnson sat down just today with JD Vance. Well, it was released today. And this is what they had to say about Ilhan. JD says Ilhan. Ilhan. I don't know. He says her name differently. I've been saying Ilhan, but he says it differently.
Ilhan Omar and Tim Ilhan.
Got that in ×2 speed. Let me slow that down.
Omar, the president and the White House have been out saying that she married her brother, that there is immigration fraud going on here. These are deportable denaturalization offenses. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so we actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And I talked to Stephen Miller about this actually recently. We're trying to look at what the remedies are. That's the thing that we're trying to figure out is what are the legal remedies now that we know that she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually do the thing? How do you build the case necessary to get some justice for the American people? There's a related issue, Benny, which is she has been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters in the Somalian community. So do I know that Ilhan Omar was aware that the Quality Leering Center was defrauding the American people? I'm not certain of it, but we at least need to investigate it, because if people can commit wrongdoing without even the fear that they're going to be found out, that's a fundamental problem. So I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along.
So he says her name as Ilhan Omar. Maybe I've been saying it wrong. And I like how JD says, well, that's already confirmed, but what is the remedy for this? And I love the fact that he uses the word remedy, because that is what America needs. We've been hurt. We've been abused for such a long time. We need a cure. We need some type of literal remedy to this. And I think everybody knows what that remedy is. JD Vance also says, but how do we show some type of case for this? How do we build a case for this? And it's crazy because it sounds like people have gone so far into this investigation into the past that they actually have DNA evidence, proof. And I want to shout out the people who are giving super chats saying happy Friday. Thank you so much. And being supportive of my work. You guys are just super awesome. So again, JD Vance, he is leading the fraud task force and has confirmed what were once, allegations. So that's the vice president, just crazy. And these allegations are, of course, that she married her brother in 2009. When people say that Islam is not compatible with the West, I think that this is what they mean, because in Somalia, it says online, yes, marrying within the extended family or same clan is not even allowed. It's encouraged in Somali culture to strengthen kinship ties, consolidate resources, and ensure familiarity. That is so awkward. Okay, so usually when people come into our country, they're supposed to learn the customs, learn the culture, and maybe don't marry your brother. So again, I always thought that this wasn't really going to lead anywhere because it wasn't her who was coming into the United States the wrong way. There's a whole different thing with her father's ties and potentially, allegedly, maybe he had lied about something, that they were the ones who were victims when actually it was the other way around. But it does sound like even in that case, because she has helped someone else commit immigration fraud and she had once been naturalized, if she gets denaturalized because of that, then she could be stripped of her citizenship, which is wild. And so on top of that, there's everything else that billions of dollars have gone missing and, none of her businesses seem to be operating from like what we've seen on the ground. And yet there's millions of dollars that they claim to have and have these nice sunglasses. And so, yeah, just a lot of stuff is coming forth right now. And like I said, this is going to be a long video, so get comfortable. Again, in Minneapolis, Feeding Our Future, you guys remember hearing about how $250 million was supposed to be used for hungry children, and it was just a scam, right? $250 million. Hundreds of millions of dollars in federal childcare funding in Minnesota were stolen. Nick Shirley exposed the empty daycares. An organized ring of Somali immigrants and others used the stolen money to purchase cars, property, and luxury travel and sent the funds overseas. So even if this wasn't able to be directly tied to her, I mean, sounds like she has something to do with it, right? But it looks difficult to prove that connection. But if they have been able to prove this, then that's a whole other thing, because then they can actually denaturalize her. I mean, the vice president is talking about a remedy, guys. All right, this is going to be long, but this is going to be also very fascinating as well. So there's an entire website that says we collected physical DNA evidence proving Ilhan Omar married her brother and committed marriage, immigration, and tax fraud. I think this would be a good time to make a disclaimer that I'm just a random person on the internet, and the views of this website and the views of the lawsuit are not my own views. I'm simply reading them. I'm a random person on the internet. I encourage you guys to do your own research. Ilhan Omar, you know, she denies all of these things. Let's go through all of that stuff in just a second. But she says that the accusations that the congresswoman, so her spokesperson said it for her, that the accusations that the congresswoman married her brother are absurd and offensive, and that it's like a right-winger thing. It's disgusting that the right wing continues to spread falsehoods for clicks. Okay? So that's what they say. Again, this is not my investigation. I'm just reading it for you guys. I mean, look at this. These people went wild into this investigation. I mean, she's just like in her backyard, which I don't know. That's like insane to, it's insane that there's this footage, right? But so like they went deep into this, guys. So they just filed, I guess, this lawsuit this year. What? They just filed a lawsuit, 2026, you guys. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this. They say, help us get Ilhan Omar expelled from Congress. During the Biden admin, we presented indisputable DNA evidence that she married her brother and committed multiple felonies, but they did nothing about it. And so they say that they have DNA physical evidence our team of private investigators collected to prove the case. As a part of our investigation, Omar's, guys, this is so crazy. Omar's personal trash items contained saliva were legally obtained by Toltec Investigations outside of her Washington, D.C. residence on numerous occasions to be tested by Endeavor DNA Labs. Oh my goodness. They went into her trash to get trash that had her saliva on it to get DNA evidence of this. Wow. Her former husband, Mr. Elmi, was located in the UK, and discarded items of his, including cigarette butts, were also obtained by the Private Eye London agency. This is insane. So apparently these people had invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this investigation, is my understanding of it. They say below you will find documented photographs of the surveillance, trash items, and the DNA siblingship report direct from the licensed laboratory. Again, I'm a random person on the internet just reading off this website, right? I'm just reading what's out there. I didn't come up with this stuff. Omar seen smoking a cigarette next to her current husband outside of their Washington, D.C. residence. That is insane. This is insane. That they actually got their saliva, this guy's cigarette bud. Or you can see, I mean, it kind of looks like they were stalking them. I don't know. That's just wild. Representative Omar's brother and ex-husband, Ahmed Nur said Ali, that we tracked to England and lawfully collected DNA samples. That is like next level craziness. Okay, so I'm not really sure what this stuff is. I guess this is their trash, you know, just like proving that this is their trash, some type of handwritten note that Omar discarded. Oh my goodness. So here they have this DNA siblingship report. Okay, so sibling number 1, sibling number 2, cigarette butt, is it butt? I always thought it was bud with a D, and a straw. Okay, so that's what they collected to get the saliva. This looks like an official thing to me. And there you have it. Down here it says likelihood ratio 47 million. Probability of full siblingship versus no relation. Okay. 99.9999 wait, 9999998. So let's give Ilhan Omar the benefit of the doubt here. They say she said that it's baseless claims. So actually, maybe there is a 0.00001% chance that it is not. I mean, you have this doctor's signature on it. Daniel Slowinski, DNA analyst. So they say that the report shows clear scientific analysis that is 99, again, accurate per lab likelihood. If you guys had a 99.999% chance on something, would you take it? I think so, if it was something good. Ratio stated above that Omar and that person are biological siblings. Again, I'm just a person who's reading a website. I'm not a crazy right-winger. Don't come after me. I'm just reading this. Federal and state crimes committed by her. They give some stuff. They have the link to the test, I believe. They get donations for their work. Representative Omar continues to lie to the media, Minnesota, and the county in statements like this. So they're saying that she's just flat out lying. Is she lying? Or is there a 0.000000001% chance? They're not even giving her the benefit of the doubt? No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. That is crazy. But the thing that got me is when I found out that it's culturally encouraged. And recently, somebody told me who is from Iran that it's like special for them, that if they marry someone within their family, I don't know, God is going to give them a special reward for that. It's even better than just marrying somebody outside. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, well, that's like a weird thing, you know? Maybe it's normal there. No, not here so much. So also, they say that a private donor is this offer still up? $1 million if Omar will simply take a DNA test herself to prove the facts on the website are not 100% authentic. Wow, $1 million, huh? To take a DNA test? That is insane. Would you guys take $1 million to simply prove that your spouse is not related to you? Why wouldn't you, right? I mean, and that's the only thing about this investigation is that they say that there's no independent person who has looked at it as well. I believe that that's the only reason why maybe it hasn't been completely confirmed, but it does sound like it has been confirmed by the vice president and that they are looking for a remedy, guys. They're looking for a cure to this thing that has infiltrated the country and spread so much. There's a cure, perhaps. And she can take the money herself or will give it to charity. Wow, that's nice of them. We'll even throw in, what is this? What side of the internet am I on right now? They will throw in, for Ilhan Omar, a custom Ferrari just for her if she takes the test. So, Ilhan Omar could get $1 million and a custom Ferrari with her name on it if she takes a DNA test. Wow! What a deal. What a nice, beautiful car. It's a nice car. Okay, so, oh boy, time to go through the lawsuit, guys. It's going to be a lot. But they have also shared that this evidence has been shared on many different major news networks. That many different people have talked about this entire thing. So much so that it's even weird that nothing has been done for so long. But maybe things are changing, Seeing JD Vance bring it up today is pretty exciting. So a lot of this just talks about how, they began this investigation against her, and the people who were doing the investigation, it's just kind of a mess. I don't know. Anyways, just continuing on, let's get to the part where they talk about, they're called right-wing conspiracy theorists. I guess the guy who did the investigation doesn't sound like to me he was that great of a person, and so he might not have the best credibility, right? But okay, let's go ahead and get into Exhibit A. Okay, 99%. So I just really want to focus on what the evidence is here. So they say substantial federal and state crimes, substantial, compelling, and to date, unrefuted evidence has been uncovered that she committed the following crimes: marriage fraud, immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, state and federal tax fraud, conspiracy to commit the same crimes, aiding and abetting the same crimes, and perjury. The evidence developed against Omar is based in part of the 3-year investigation in both the US, the UK, and Somalia by the Big Tent Republicans PAC director. Much of the below evidence, who also gathered by these people, it is supported by information gathered by public records, social media postings, genealogy databases, computer forensic analysis, unaltered digital photographs, discussions between the investigative reports and the subjects of the investigation themselves, information supplied by confidential sources within the Somali American community, and finally, conclusive and irrefutable DNA evidence, which you guys saw that they got from the cigarette butt and a straw. Man, she really regrets using that straw. Climate activists are not happy right now, and she's also that's why her daughter is so big on climate activism. This is a joke, by the way. This is sarcasm. She's like, no more straws. Stop the use of straws because they contain DNA evidence of, marriage fraud. Okay, let's move on. So they say that she must resign. What else we got? The evidence is now but rested on DNA information retrieved by private investigators and meticulously documented below on the website that we were just on. So they say that the evidence developed that Steinberg and his colleagues demonstrated with a high degree of certainty that Omar not only had contact with Elmi, but actually met up with him in London in 2015, which is supported by photographic evidence. And apparently she had said that my understanding is that she said after their divorce, they had no contact. But then they say that there is evidence that they did have contact. Omar signed the application for an order for service by alternative means under penalty of perjury. That very document that Ilhan Omar signed on August 2nd of 2017 bears the following notation directly above her signature: I declare under penalty of perjury that everything I have stated in this document is true. And they say of particular importance are archived photos taken during a widely reported trip by Omar to London in 2015, posted to her own Instagram account under her nickname Hammy, in which she poses with her husband, or presumed brother, Ahmed Ali. So what kind of a trip was this? Work, pleasure? Was it a honeymoon? What was this? Why did they go to London for? Where were they in these pictures? How were they posing together? Like, how should a person pose with their brother, you know? Just like standing next to each other. Were they hugging? I don't know. I don't like this conversation. It's like horrible. These photographs from 2015 are documentary evidence that she met up with Elmi after June 11th and before the date she signed the divorce document in 2017, thereby calling into question the veracity of her claim that she had not seen him. So imagine like trying to have to trick people about whether or not you're seeing your brother. Like, and then that's also weird because if you divorced your brother and then you're like, I guess what I'm confused about is what is their actual relationship like? Like, did they do it for papers or like, were they actually in a relationship? That's the thing that I don't get. I mean, both are bad, honestly. Another key piece of information is a social media picture posted by Elmi in which he states that the child he is holding is his niece's. Where is this going? Omar's potential crimes far exceeded perjurious statements made in a Minnesota court filing. Omar also committed immigration fraud. She married her brother. This is what the document says. I'm not saying this, I'm reading this. She married her brother in order to assist his immigration to the US from the UK. It's also crazy that he had citizenship in the UK. And from her book, my understanding is that could have been an option for their family. Like that they went from Somalia, they escaped in cattle buses. She talks about going on this plane and just being squished by other people, it being packed and stinky and just horrible, like used for animals, just like the worst dehumanizing situation, like escaping Somalia, getting to Kenya. And then from Kenya, did they go to the UK after that? I think, you know, but like she was saying, if they couldn't go to the US, they could have gone to the UK. And she also said that when they were being questioned by the immigration people, why did she leave record of all this stuff in her book, by the way? And in her book, she completely skips over all of the marriage stuff as well. And so, like, she addresses more the right-wingers in her book than she does in who she married. She's like, it was just a crazy time in my life. Like, I shaved my head and went wild, like Britney Spears or something. And as if we're all just supposed to be like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll just ignore that. But like she says, like some of her siblings had to talk at the immigration proceeding because they were over 18, but other ones didn't. And she talks about the importance in her own book of going with her family. Like, I'm not going to go to the United States. She did not want to come. She really wanted to stay in Kenya. I think she's so upset about being here. There's even video clips of her being like, and if I have to go back to Somalia, so what? What's wrong with that? And she's like, the goddamn states of America. So like, she doesn't really like this country that much. She doesn't want to go. And the point I was getting at was that she was like, I'll only go to the United States if I can go with you, Baba, or something like that. If I can go with you, Baba. I don't know. She had some nickname. I don't know if she was talking about her grandpa or her dad, but it was so important for her to not go alone. And then of course, when she gets to the US, she's really young still, but she's just like, I arrived and there was just loads of trash. And it's like, okay, yeah, you came to the greatest country on earth and you just saw homeless people and trash and drug addicts. Okay, sure. So just everybody feels that frustration that there's not the appreciation. And that's why people are upset, because it's one thing to, you know, like be Tim Walsh, who just sucks. And, you know, he's somehow involved in everything as well. And he's just like crazy. But it's another thing as well that adds another layer to it when they speak poorly about the United States. And they seem to be supporters of Islam and ties to communist Cuba. And then just this hatred for America that is being pushed so heavily that's what infuriates people more, I believe. So let's continue on. This same immigration fraud scheme likely aided Elmi in obtaining federally backed student loans for his attendance at North Dakota State University. Elmi and Omar simultaneously attended North Dakota State University and may have derived illicit benefits predicating on the immigration fraud scheme, though the evidence on this particular case is less conclusive and requires further investigation. So, I mean, they're even honest. The fact that they're honest about that part of the investigation not being confirmed yet gives their word more weight when they said that it's like 99.9999998% certainty, right? Steinberg and his colleagues have engaged in meticulous research and reporting over a period of years that researchers, together with DNA evidence, conclusively established that Omar violated many federal and state laws. All right, so let's get into this part so we can help JD Vance, our man leading the fraud task force, with what the remedy could be. We need to figure out the remedy, the cure in life, whatever you're going through in your life right now. First, we have to work to understand the problem. We cannot think even about the solution if we do not thoroughly understand what is the problem. Where is the core issue? And once we can trace everything back to that core issue, then we can perhaps maybe begin to think about a remedy. So that's the reason why it's so important to go into this factual background. Really, let's go deep, guys. Let's see. Omar's family history. Omar entered the U.S. as a member of a family different from her birth family. What? Huh? Come again? Huh? I didn't know that. She didn't put that in her book. She entered the U.S. as a member of a family different from her birth family? What? What? Did you guys know that? Okay, that threw me off because she talks about going with her family to the immigration proceedings, her dad or stuff. What? Okay, so that's weird. In 1995, Ilhan entered the U.S. as a fraudulent member of the Omar family. The Omar family is not her birth family? Rather, the Omar family is a second unrelated family which was being granted asylum by the U.S. What? What? So a whole other family was being granted asylum and she was just like, I am a part of that family. The Omars allowed Ilhan, her genetic sister, Sahra, and her genetic father, Nur Said, to use false names to apply for asylum as members of the Omar family? What? So what's their last name then? Ilhan's genetic family split at this time. That's her worst fear. Her worst nightmare. The above three received asylum in the U.S., while Ilhan's three other siblings, using their real names, managed to get asylum in the UK. This is crazy, guys. This is the craziest thing I've ever read. Okay. Ilhan Abdullahi, Omar's name, before applying for asylum. No, it wasn't. Are you kidding me? Her name was Ilhan Nur Said Elmi. I'm sorry, that's not funny. Her father's name before applying for asylum was Nur Said Elmi Mohammed. Her sister, Sahra Noor's name before applying for asylum was Sahra Nur Said Elmi. Okay, but let's be honest. Every time I was doing so much investigations into random just places that I saw all over Minneapolis, and I was looking up who owns this place and why do they own so many other places, and is this the same person as that person? And at the end of the day, they all have the same last names. They're all Mohammed. I'm obviously generalizing and I'm stereotyping, but seriously, so many people have the same names and stuff. But whoa. That is crazy. Her three siblings who were granted asylum in the UK were Leila Nur Said Elmi and Mohammed Nur Said Elmi and I think this name rings a bell. right? Am I following this along correctly? Ahmed Nursaid Elmi. Very fascinating. Nursaid Elmi is Omar's father, confirming some of the above information as it appears in their 1995 U.S. immigration papers. It is not difficult. A basic background search shows that Nur, Omar, Mohammed, Ilhan Abdullahi Omar, and Safra Noor all received U.S. security numbers in 1995 or 1996 in Virginia. So that at least ties into her book when she says, I went to Virginia. She said that they were in New York and she's like, I want to get to, like, her father or whatever was like, wait, but was that even her father then? I don't know. That's so weird. It must have been. The Omar family allowed her dad, her siblings, a few of them, not all of them, the rest of them went to the UK, but to go with them to the US or use their names to do so, I guess. Verified address records show adult members of the Omars living at 3 addresses in Arlington and Virginia. The UK records of the relevant individuals are similarly easy to find. A simple Ancestry.com account and a similar online tool reveals only one Leah Nursaid Elmi, only one Mohammed Nursaid Elmi, and only one Ahmed Nursaid Elmi in the UK. So I thought that this guy was living in South Africa now. So we'll see if he is living there or not. Additional evidence verifies a sibling relationship between Ilhan and Ahmed. Sarah Noor is the only person Ilhan Omar has ever publicly identified as her sister. Whoa. And they've often referred to the same man as their father. So here we have proof of this, I guess. I love my father. Besides being an awesome dad, it turns out he's also a great political strategist and fundraiser. Oh boy. And everyone knows to never ever mess with any of his children, especially his daughters. Last night's victory would not have been possible without you, Dad. Safra Noor and Nursaid. Jeez, these people put a lot of work into this investigation. It's so confusing with like these strange names, you know, but wow. They put it together and they are presenting the information really well. The above image, a screenshot of Safra Noor's confirmed Facebook account, was first published by Preya in 2016. He also identifies himself as Nursaid. Below is a screenshot from his Facebook account before he died. Nursaid. Wait, Nursaid. Let's see for a second. I want to go back up. A basic background shows that Nur Mohammed, and it's also strange because they'll use like different variations. So like sometimes I'm just gonna make up an example for just to prove a point. Like his name is Nursaid. So imagine like he had some type of business and then they were receiving a bunch of federal funding, but then that got shut down. And then another person named Nursaid Ali opens up another business and they like use whole new identities. And that's the like Minnesota fraud pattern that I found. Like they get shut down and then they open things up with new names. And so I guess like they get a new name and then marry each other. Well, that's what happened here. Sounds like. Allegedly. In 2018, as a journalist published a series of articles investigating Omar's past, this account, oh, here we go. Name change from Leila Elmi to Leila Elmi. You know, so like, look, yes, it's stuff like this that makes me so angry. Leila and then Lila. Like, I found something that I'm not even going to say what the name was because there's no way of proving it because the name was different. But there was some guy who owned this daycare thing. And then I looked up the name and there was the tiniest difference in name. But this guy's criminal record was crazy. He had like, and it was in like the same city too. And I'm like, I think that that's the same guy and he's running a daycare and that's wild, but I can't say anything about it because it's a similar difference to Lila to Layla. You know, that's messed up. That's like full trickery. Why would you need to change your name? How many times have you guys changed your name in your lifetime? What's the purpose of that? Like, that's insane. Leila Silmi. So like, Below is a 97 marriage certificate for only Leila Elmi listed in the UK. This certified copy was retrieved from a government records center in London in February of 2019. Note the date in the document's lower right corner. This is a public record. So, yeah, crazy. They did a lot of work on this. Thus, there is a verifiable evidence that Ilhan Abdullahi Omar Nahra Noor feels like speaking a different language reading this. And Leila Nursed Eli all refer to their father as Nursed or Nursed Elmi. I guess whenever it's convenient, right? Like if he's working with a certain community, he's Nursed Elmi. But if he's working with somebody else, he's Nursed. There is also verifiable establishing that the three are sisters and are all referring to the same man as their father. So again, just proving their relationship. 2 posts appeared on Ilhan Omar's confirmed Instagram account in 2013 and 2015, respectively. Instagram user Haimi became the blue-checked Ilhan MN account at some point in 2016. Whoa, crazy. A cursory search through older posts on the Ilhan MN account still reveals many instances of commenters addressing Ilhan MN as Haimi. Isn't it crazy, too, that on all of her posts, she always turns off the comments? I don't really understand why. I mean, being such a public figure, yeah, people are going to say rude things and hate on you, but like, okay, so what, you know? Like, it happens to everybody. Like, who really cares? But so it feels like something more, like to completely turn off the comments. Why? In August 2016, after Scott Johnson and Preya originally broke the story about her curious marriage, the below post disappeared from her Instagram account. Where is it? Why would you delete that? It's so cute. It's actually a lovely photo. You look great. You guys all look super happy. Why would you delete that? However, a source, it's funny that they have that too. That they screenshotted it before it got deleted. However, a source within the Minneapolis Somali community had downloaded much of Omar's Instagram account before posts were deleted. The source reviewed these 2 deleted posts, recognized their significance, and saved them. Wow. So, Nairobi? Hashtag Nairobi? What's that? 2000. Oh, it's a place. Malindi, Mombasa, Kenya. During Ramadan, I got to help out in famine relief camp, Somalia. Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you. Yes, we are having a good weekend. This is an interesting start to your weekend, isn't it? So here we have a picture of Leila, who I guess is her sister, Nursed, who is her dad, right? And Ilhan Omar together. According to Ilhan, they are pictured on August 11th, trip to East Africa. Below is a picture of Leila in white, Ilhan in black, and Ilhan's caption in red, which read, "I heart my sisters." But do you heart your brother, though? I think that's the real question. Imagine that's the next post that's coming up. Oh, London trip. Wait, so was this a whole family trip? Was that the London trip? What year was that again? I think that was 2015, right? That whole London trip thing happened. Let's figure it out. Further, this picture with the London trip hashtag depicts Ilhan Omar's infamous, oh yes, it is that infamous trip. So it was a whole family trip. It was a honeymoon / family trip. This is the same trip on which she was photographed with Ahmed Nur. Yeah, like, why would you take all of your family on like a trip with your husband though? Like, let's just say like, okay, no brother, just husband. Like, why'd you bring all your sisters then? I mean, you know, whatever, they could be on a vacation, but it's like a family trip, right? Photo of Ilhan Ahmed Nursed Elmi in London. I have to say, I was a skeptic about this whole thing at first, but now they're saying DNA evidence. We have the vice president saying so. So, not looking too hot. Okay, there's another picture. Is that her lover / brother? Is that him? Again, there they are. There they are. Wow. Yikes. I don't think that story needs to end up in Hollywood for like being a love story in any way. What do you guys think? Yep. You guys are not the biggest supporters of Ilhan. I can tell from the chat. In December 2016, Omar reported that she was harassed by a cab driver in DC attending meetings. She claimed that the cab driver called her that and threatened to remove her head covering. A few days later, Omar filed a report. Okay. And then she initially stated that she was in the cab by her sister. Oh, God. That sucks. Imagine like she actually was in danger there, but because she had something to like hide, then she had to like begin lying. Oh, gosh. In Omar's report obtained via FOIA request, I mean, these people who did this investigation are like, I can't believe they like did just so much. Like they got obtained via an FOIA request. Who would even know to get such a thing? The description of the person Omar had been in the cab was redacted. Why? You've proudly showed your sister multiple times. They were in the back of a cab together. That's not good. That's not good. Would you convey this message to your buddy? What's all this? What is all this? Where's the redacted part? Omar had been in the cab was redacted. What am I reading right now? Would you convey this message to your buddy since he's claiming that he grew up in DC? I have like a license plate number, file complaint. On Wednesday night, I had an opportunity to have dinner with Ilhan and her family. Lovely. Oh, okay. So they must have been out to dinner maybe. And they shared Ilhan and her lovely sister. And she shared the receipt with me that she got from Cabby. I gave advice what she should do. Liban, our sister Ilhan doesn't need your apology, but you got to stop bad-mouthing the Somali American community. There are a lot of ways to get attention and grab the headlines. It's not one of them. Ilhan Omar needs to apologize to the great people of the District of DC and their hardworking cab drivers or prove her case to the police. Okay. What do you guys think about this part? So I guess they're just like proving more times that they have like been seen together, and then like her being like, I wasn't even with this person. And if it was her brother, then why would it be a problem for her to just be in a car, you know? Like, what would be the issue with that? So I think that's what's happening here. Let's see. Oxwell stated that he was with Omar soon after the cab incident. Okay, so why is this a whole thing? On Wednesday night, I had an opportunity to have dinner. Okay, yeah, we read that. Oxwell even initially included a link to the Leila Elmi account. Okay, so like this guy is like, I had dinner with the sister. So he's like saying that on her behalf, so people didn't think it was the brother. It was not plausible to believe that Oxo simply made a mistake. One would have to believe like that Oxo had dinner with Ilhan and a second woman, that the woman was introduced to him as any other person alive, that a couple days later he made the 1 in 7 billion mistake of misremembering this woman as Ilhan Omar's lovely sister Leila Elmi, a random person of a woman from England he has no clear reason to know. Oh. True. So was she even in the US at that point, I wonder? Like, yeah, so again, why would you lie about that? States to visit Ilhan Omar. Oh, okay. The only rational explanation, she was in the US, okay. Attended this dinner with her and Ilhan introduced her as Oxo describes. Okay, so, I mean, again, that's just like insane that they had to do all of this for like a dinner. All right, what's this now? Okay, we need to follow this though, so we're not missing out on anything. Leila Elmi are siblings with her father named Nur Said Elmi. Ahmed Nur Said Elmi is Leila Nur Said Elmi's brother. Leila and Ahmed already appear to be two of the only three in the UK. Leila Nur Said Elmi's marriage certificate attests that she lived in Camden, a borough of London, in 1997, and she was 24 years old. Ahmed Nur Said Elmi was 12 in 1997. How do we know? Elmi published the following image to his self-confirmed account. It depicts him undergoing a medical procedure while wearing a hospital intake bracelet, and it has his name on it. Okay. Per his own admission, Elmi attended a school in Camden for students aged 11 to 18, Harvard Stock School. This link was confirmed on Ahmed's confirmed Facebook account. Okay. What do you guys think? Does this look like Ilhan Omar? We need some confirmation. Does this look like Ilhan Omar? Yes, this is an entire 68-page investigation that, again, with these little tiny things, like, why did that guy have to come forth and be like, I was at dinner with the sister, and then like provide a link to her account, like this person specifically? Like, why would you go all overboard like that? You know, and it doesn't even sound like he should have known who she was, I guess. It's kind of what I'm taking away from it. But yeah, 68 pages just being like again and again and again. More and more stuff, right? But what do you guys think? The nose, the eyes. Yeah, the eyes look kind of does look like her a little bit. Like if you removed the facial hair, like his lips look bigger though. But then like, you know, if you made him like, if it was a woman, it could really kind of look like her. What do you guys think? Okay, but that's his account. What did he say there? Trump, according to Aja. Okay, so, and this random person, right? No, obviously this is his confirmed account also because he's like politically inclined as well too. Okay. Ahmed Nur said Elmi's Instagram post calling two young twins with a backpack from a primary school in Camden his nieces. Omar's Instagram account loved the post. Omar's Instagram post picturing herself with the same twin girls. Wow. Oh, wait, so... Wait. Omar also calls the girls her nieces. Really? That's so awkward. Is that not awkward? I'm still... What I want to understand by the end of this whole thing, after we get to the bottom of this, is there an actual intimate relationship? Or was it all just like for papers, you know? Or like, do they like date? I mean, that's obviously probably in the past, right? Maybe she's past that. Now she's with that guy, Tim Minette, who he's just a business genius, apparently, you know, making like money from like imaginary wine. Look at me, guys. Thank you, Tim. That was really good. Cheers. Okay. So apparently she's with another man now, but that's what I want to understand. Omar also calls the girls her nieces. This post is yet another that is tagged #London trip. Oh, that's so sad. I feel so bad for these people. These twin girls are indeed the daughters of Leila Elmi. This can be confirmed. Oh gosh. So it's not possible ever, should be ever possible, to have the same nieces as your spouse. Okay. If you're ever dating and you find out that the person you met has the same nieces as you, that, my friends, is a red flag. Dump her, leave, move on, find somebody else. Okay. Somebody said the big forehead fits the profile. You guys are so mean. You guys are so mean. Elmi's Facebook account. Thus, there is verifiable evidence that Safra Noor, Ilhan Omar, and Leila Elmi are siblings with the father, Nurse Elmi. Leila Elmi. So the big piece that I got was that they like are not actually Omars. There has to be something that it's like, you cannot be a member of Congress if Omar's not your real last name. Like, how did that not come forth at one point? How did she just come here with a whole fake identity? That's wild. Both Ilhan Omar and Ahmed Nur said Elmi. So is Ilhan actually Ilhan Nur said Elmi? Or just Elmi? I don't know. It's confusing, right? Call Leila Elmi children's nieces. Okay, so there you have the bullet points that kind of sum all of that up. Ahmed Nur Elmi apparently arrived in the UK in 1995 or 1996, only 10 to 11 years old, without a parent. Jeez. Who looked after him until he arrived in the US in 2002? Apparently, it was Leila. There's no adoption record, which can be public in the UK. It would have been a kinship carer, family and friends carer. So again, this to me sounds like another big reason why people shouldn't just be able to just like come into the country, or like refugees, just kind of that mess of immigration that we had under the Biden administration, because families get separated, kids are left alone. Like even just that system was so messed up. Haverstock School has records of student Ahmed Nursaid Almi living at the same address as Leila Elmi, with her listed as his guardian. Wow. So his sibling was taking care of him. And then Ilhan was like, no, I'm the sibling for the job. I'll take care of him. I'm just kidding. I wonder then, wait, so he came in first because he was only 11 at that time, right? Only 10, 11 years old. And Leila was like taking care of him. So wait, how did he come into the US then though? Like if he was only supposed to be living in the UK legally, how did he come into the US? Anyways, he was, I guess. And Leila was taking care of him, according to this document. Everything, again, is according to this document that I'm reading. And I encourage you guys to keep doing your own research. But this is a crazy lawsuit. That they put a lot of work into this. However, these two very recent posts, currently active on Instagram and archived, already established this. Here are Leila and Ahmed calling each other mom and son. Dude, what is wrong with you people? Like, what the heck? Like, what sibling would look at their other sibling? Unless, no, like, when? And be like, mom, my son. Like, what? No. Again, just super incompatible with the West. So he's in the London, UK. My handsome son? What the heck? Mom, love you? What is this? Guys, this is just like weird. I don't know. I'm not like, that's just weird. Mood. I love you, Ahmed. Very happy to see you growing. Keep being beautiful. Thanks, Mom. What the heck? No. Okay, so not... So what does this mean then? 3 siblings, right? Leila, she's like raising Ahmed. Ilhan, Omar, they're all actually siblings, but let's like get into their weird like headspace. Okay, so they're all siblings. Leila's like, okay, you're my son. So then in that like cultural aspect, whatever they're doing, mom and son stuff, it'd be like she would be like with her like nephew or something. Is that where the cousin thing comes in? Where like marrying cousins is like so good and stuff. And they're like, you know, she's like an aunt or something. So you guys know that you're siblings though. Like DNA is a real thing. You can't just like pretend that that doesn't exist because of how you like treat each other and stuff. Okay. Weird. Omar admitting to, okay, he just admitted to it though. In 2026, Omar released a statement confirming that she had married a British citizen named Ahmed Nursaid Elmi in 2009. Her statement also claimed that Ahmed remained her legal husband as of that date. She stated, okay, so Ilhan stated this. A number of baseless rumors have been made recently about my personal life and family. I will say it again here. They are absolutely false and ridiculous. According to JD Vance, though, that said, I will offer clarity and share a difficult part of my personal history that I did not consider relevant in the context of a political campaign. I mean, it's kind of relevant. It's your name. You're Ilhan Omar for Congress. But if you're not Ilhan Omar for Congress and you're actually Ilhan Said Elmi, for example, that's extremely relevant so that we can put these rumors to rest and return to what really matters, how we join together to build a more prosperous and equitable district and state. In 2002, oh boy. When I was 19 years old, Ahmed Hersey, whose name before he received citizenship was Ahmed Aden. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into this. Okay, in 2002, when I was 19 years old, Ahmed Hersey, whose name before he received citizenship was Ahmed Aden. Why would you receive citizenship though and like have a new name though? Anyways, the father of my children, Hersey? What the hell? In 2019, okay, Ahmed Hersey, whose name before he received citizenship was Ahmed Aden, the father of my children, whom I love and who's the love of my life, whatever. And I applied for a marriage license, but we never finalized the application and thus were never legally married. Okay. In 2008, we decided to end our relationship in our faith tradition after reaching an impasse in our life together. So is she trying to say, is her being like his name was Ahmed Aden and it's not Hersey? Wait. What I think what Ilhan Omar needs to do is say what her name is. Like when she was born on her Somali birth certificate, if those exist, what was her name? Because if she changed her name and some Omars were like, oh, okay, you can pretend you're a part of our family to go to the US because the Omars were granted entrance into the US, but they weren't. Oh my goodness. Like, so what's your real name? Is it Aden? Is it Hersey? Is it Omar? I think she needs to just be honest about like herself for a second. In 2008, we decided to end our relationship. Okay, I entered into a relationship. Okay, so that's a different person that she was dating? Sorry, I just need to keep going and then I'll figure it out later. I entered into a relationship with a British citizen, Ahmed Leila Elmi, and married him legally. Is that the same person? You just like go around dating Ahmeds? She just has a thing for Ahmeds, I guess. And married him legally in 2009. Our relationship ended in 2011 and we divorced in our faith tradition. Again, like leave this part out of it. You're just confusing people. See, the culture stuff, the name changes, and then it's just like, oh, but this was the faith religion, but we weren't sure if we should have done it fully into the church so it like wasn't real and stuff. That's just like you're losing us. You know, like what's your name? Is that the same person that you're talking about? Because why are you even mentioning him then? Ahmed Hersey or Ahmed Aden. Like, this is what I'm talking about. And this is what they're doing in Minneapolis with the businesses. It's freaking crazy. It's frustrating because I'm trying to understand, but what the hell are you saying? Ahmed Leila Elmi and legally married him in 2009. Our relationship ended in, 2011, divorced after that. He moved home to England. And where's this guy from then? Ahmed Hersey, where's he from? Where was that guy from? Did she ever say? When I was 19 years old, before he received citizenship. This is just like ridiculous, you guys. Insinuations that Ahmed Leila Elmi is my brother are absurd and offensive. Since 2011, I am happy to say that I have reconciled with Ahmed Hersey. Oh, God. There's this part of the book, her book, where she has like this like mental breakdown. Like she had, and this is like a tragedy, right? Like sincere tragedy. Like she had miscarriages. She was like sad. And she has this moment where she like reconciles with her family and like her father, and she like forgives him and like all this stuff. And my understanding is that was around the time of that marriage that people are like, wait, did she marry her brother? That's my understanding. Okay, so she reconciled with Ahmed Hersey as well. We have married in our faith tradition and are raising our family together. Like all families, we have our ups and downs, but we are proud to have overcome it together. Hey, I mean, she also, I believe, married divorced that guy, married him again. And I think that was the person that Ahmed Hersey, I guess. It's just weird though, right? That she brought up that other person who's also named Ahmed. Like herself, she brought that up. Guys, Omar had a child with Hersey while married to Elmi. This could be like a whole series. The Bachelorette. You guys went wrong with that lady. I believe that they filmed an entire season with that lady and now they can't even post it. Just drop it, create an entire new series called Omar. Just like go through like this. There has to be so much drama here. Omar's divorce petition contains extraordinary information. First, she attests that there are no children born of her marriage to Elmi, but that one of her children was born during that marriage. A yellow box notes that the document has been updated since signed, and an initialed note contains the update. The respondent, Ahmed Nursaid Elmi, has not signed a declaration of non-paternity as the petitioner, Ilhan Omar, has no contact with him since before the child was conceived. I kind of want to see a family tree, but I'm also like kind of horrified to see the family tree. Okay, so he has not signed a declaration of non-paternity as Ilhan Omar has had no contact with him since before. Okay, so Ahmed Nursaid Elmi is not, you are not the father. See, like, it would be the best TLC series. It would be like a mix of everything. Yeah, instead of like the faith stuff too. They could take the faith angle of it instead of the Mormon angle. They could take a Muslim angle on it as well. So Ahmed Nursaid Elmi is not the father, I guess. He's just the brother. God. That would be the craziest episode of Maury. How do you say it? Recall that in 2016, Omar told the press that her 2009 marriage to Elmi was essentially a 2-year hiatus from her relationship with Hersey, the legal father of all 3 children. She claimed to have separated from Hersey, then met and married Elmi. A relationship, Hersey, Elmi, but are they both Ahmeds? This is just a mess. A relationship with which failed permanently sometime around June 2011 and rekindled, and they had a 3rd child. Okay, wow. So they're happy ever after. And that guy, I don't know. Does this make sense to you guys? Let me see what you guys are saying. So her real surname and her father, who got citizenship under false pretenses, is Elmi. Okay. All right. So that guy, Elmi. What the heck? I don't know. This is one of those things where ignorance might be bliss. We're better off not knowing. What the hell kind of a comment is that? What? Why would you comment that? Like somebody just gave birth and that's what you have to comment? Not congratulations, she's beautiful, life. Like, wow. Fresh out of, like, what? That is weird. This is just culturally, it's just weird. If like a family member commented that on the first post of you introducing your newborn to the world, like delete, block, what? That is freaking weird. Ahmed and Elmi. It was the dad who posted that. That was his caption. What a loser. I can't imagine having a child with somebody who would say something so stupid. No wonder why she left him. Oh my gosh. That's freaking ridiculous. That's Elmi himself holding a baby. Ilwad. Fresh out of Omar's. No wonder. Imagine if like it's not her brother, but she's just like so embarrassed by having this like really embarrassing ex. I'm just kidding, guys. There's like a 99% proof. Oh gosh, that is ridiculous. This child was born the day before to his legal wife at the time, Ilhan Omar. Poor thing. Can't imagine being married to that. Oh gosh. Who attested in court, see below, that she had a zero contact with him before Ilwad was conceived. Ilwad? Really? That was the name. These are real people, guys. Let alone born on June 12th, 2012. Perhaps most I just can't get over that caption. Perhaps most significant is that Elmi refers to the newborn baby as his nieces. Come on. His niece would obviously be his sister's child. So there obviously is a big misalignment with how they view family versus how we do. Omar committed perjury regarding her contact with Elmi. On 2017, she swore, literally she signed a ½ inch or so under penalty of perjury that she had zero contact with Ahmed Nur said Elmi. So imagine if like in her head, she believes that she can sign this because to her, that man isn't Ahmed Nur said Elmi. He's just Ahmed, whatever she said earlier, like with the other name. And she's like, no, it's not the same person. It's not the same. It's not Ahmed Nur said. It's Ahmed whatever. And he's not my brother anymore. He's like this other new figure or something like that. And maybe that's why she's like, it's okay. And that's why nobody can come after me because this is my religion and it's my beliefs. It's kind of like the feel that I'm getting from it. Furthermore, Omar swore that she did not know where to find him and that she did not know a single person who was likely to know his whereabouts. She did this to apply for a default divorce from Ahmed, a divorce where one spouse cannot be located and served. She did this to apply for a default divorce where one spouse cannot be located. Oh, that's like weird. Like, what's the point of that? Ahmed Nur said Elmi, state of Minnesota. I, Ilhan Abdullah. What's that song? Are you really gonna love me forever? Oh, you just hit and run. Like, where did she become Abdullah all of a sudden? She just like shows up on American Idol. Like, what? Or was that a part of her name forever? That's what I'm saying. Like the name stuff, it's a big mess. And it's how they get away with a lot of stuff. What does this say? I am the petitioner in this action for dissolution of marriage. All right. Okay. So this is like their divorce, right? Ilhan Omar. So is that her middle name? Or is that like her last name? Abdullah. Omar perjured herself 8 times with her 9 answers. Minnesota's perjury statute. Okay, let's see how many religious answers we have to all of them. For each instance, she's like, it's not perjury. Have you even read the Quran? The above conclusions are based on verifiable UK and US marriage records, verifiable address records, time-stamped, traceable, archived online communications, convictions and settlements based upon social media evidence and commonplace. Oh, wow. This is a long list. Background check of social securities and birth dates. Archived court documents signed under penalty of perjury, photos which can be examined to rule out digital manipulation. Oh, this whole campaign finance and public disclosure board investigation, which found Omar filed joint tax returns with a man who was not her husband. 3 years of evidence published across many articles, none of which have been shown. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking about like a divorce and like how horrible that is for a human. And then there's like so many more divorces and then like so many name changes and other things. Like, just sounds like a nightmare. Like, she cannot be happy. She probably would like it to go back to Somalia. Just put this all behind, you know? She was clearly in contact with the man in either the US or the UK with the same name and birth date as the man she married. She was clearly in contact with several people who were in contact with him. Ahmed Nur said Almi admitted to being photographed with Omar in London. To be clear, Omar was legally married to Ahmed Nur said Elmi at the time she was photographed next to a man who admits his name is Ahmed Nur Elmi and that he is in the photo. That was like the sisters' trip, right? Omar refused all inquiries from her constituents, elected officials, and media outlets to provide any specific evidence contradicting even a single allegation suggested by 3 years of public information. In fact, Omar has responded by making information less available. In 2016, Omar verified social media accounts were taken offline. Ahmed Nur said Elmi's social media accounts were also taken offline. When the accounts returned, a large amount of potentially incriminating evidence had been deleted. Kind of like how like their business like runs. And then when people start to be like, wait, where's the wine? And then like everything gets deleted. And then their Rose Lake Capital, like little by little, just things start disappearing. It's like, why though? Like if you're running a business and then attention gets brought to it, that's like when you hit the ground running and you take that momentum and you do something with it. But instead, they're just like, oh my gosh, people know about our business. So like similarly, I suppose. So counts incriminating evidence being deleted. 10 additional before and after instances of evidence were still being deleted in 2018. Omar has released carefully worded statements that denigrate those seeking answers from her as racist. Really? Yet she has repeatedly refused to answer questions or issues anything other than public relations statements. So again, like that's the problem, is that it does make sense for her to be like, oh, well, this is against my like religion because, you know, like that is like a cousin, you know, like her sister was raising her brother as her son and she's just like out there, you know, and so she's like, well, we don't see each other that way, maybe kind of thing. Maybe that's just like my takeaways, my personal Angela, me, myself, and I's takeaways. So then it's like a religious thing. And it's like, well, you can't like criticize my religion and stuff. This person says in the comments, Billy says, the reason people think she married her brother is because Ahmed Nur said Elmi is her brother because her sister became his guardian in the UK. At least that's what they get from this. Okay. Yeah. I mean, similar to like how I'm feeling too, you know? People say she has the wrong religion. I mean, I think a lot of people agree with you when you say that. Below is a letter provided to her legal counsel by Andrew M. Lugger, U.S. Attorney for the District of Minnesota. Okay, but in all sincerity, though, so many investigations, like, you know, time after time are like being done on like wild stuff. This investigation is like one of the most thorough things I've ever seen in my entire life. It is overwhelming. Thank you for the $4. I appreciate that. And we'll buy some wine, buy some consulting. It'll go to a good place. Just kidding. Well, it depends on if I'm buying, what's that place called again? E Street Group's wine. Doesn't exist. Not possible. All right. So below is a letter provided to her legal counsel by Andrew. Okay. Well, let's read it. Okay. Ilhan. Omar. Dear Jean, thank you for speaking by phone earlier today about your client Ilhan Omar. As you are aware, an erroneous news report aired yesterday on Fox 9 indicating that my office has requested an investigation into the immigration status of Miss Omar. As I said on the telephone, there is no truth to this report, and my office is not investigating, nor have we requested an investigation into Miss Omar. Very yours truly, Andrew Lugger. The type of willful blindness to Omar's many crimes has been the unfair standard to which she has benefited from in the past, and it is almost without precedent. So, like, just refusing to even look into it. However, the evidence has been compiled. The evidence which has been compiled is now far too strong to be ignored for political motives. I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that's like, what? Yeah, there's like totally reasons to look into it for sure. Official school records establish that Ahmed Elmi is Omar's brother. According to official student enrollment records archived by St. Paul Public Schools in the state of Minnesota, and Ahmed N. Elmi was enrolled as a senior in the class of 2003 at Arlington Senior High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. From September 6th, I just want to say something like that's not completely like proven. And again, it's just something I looked up. I looked up that guy's name and like he lives in Minnesota and like it doesn't seem like he's doing well. Like it sounds like he's like struggling like financially, just like in every sense. Or like her ex or her brother. I don't know. Anyways. From September 6, 2002 until June 10th, 2011, he graduated and received a diploma. The enrollment record states that Ahmed N. Elmi was born on April 4th, 1985. Both Omar's 2009 marriage documents and her 2017 divorce court pleadings state that Ahmed Nursaid Elmi was born on April 4th, 1985. An extensive search reveals no other person named Ahmed Nursaid Elmi, Ahmed N. Elmi, or even Ahmed Elmi, with the birth date April 4th, 1985. The man Ilhan Omar married and the 17 to 18-year-old who attended Arlington Senior High School in St. Paul in 2002 and 2003 are one and the same. Okay. So again, that's also confirming that it's the same person because on her marriage documents, they had the same birthday as that person. And he attended that high school. Ahmed N. Elmi was a minor for most of the school year, and thus his parents, legal guardians, would very likely also be listed on his enrollment records along with the home address and telephone number. St. Paul Public Schools has stated that federal law and Minnesota law forbid it from releasing the names of Ahmed and Elmi's parents. So the parent, would the legal guardian be his sister? Addresses or phone number from his enrollment record without Elmi's signed permission or a warrant. Okay, so maybe a warrant could be the remedy. Well, maybe. That could be like a part of it. Several members of the class of 2003 have reported that Ellie was living with his father while attending Arlington Senior High School. With his father? Further, Elmi's father was identified as the same man Ilhan Omar has always publicly referred to as her own father, Nursaid Elmi Muhammad. So what was the dad doing, I wonder? Somebody says a lady wrote a song about Ilhan Omar. If my mother was my brother's sister. Really? I'll have to hear that one. I'm just wondering, like, why was the father gone so that the sister had to raise the brother? DNA evidence, and one thing about American culture is like extreme independence. Like people begin working at 15, 16, and they take the world on their own when they're 18, they're 19, they go to college, they move on. And so just like the intense ties between like brother and sister and like all this stuff is like, it's a little bit suffocating. It's like a little bit too much. You know, it doesn't even like just that is like, it's a lot, you know? But again, that's like a culture thing. Some people are more, I don't know, close knit, I guess, which is great. But I'm just saying, like, marrying your brother, that's too much. It's too much. Okay, so now we're getting into the DNA evidence. What's that song? I got royalty, got loyal. Wait, what's it? I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Something done, I'm marrying my brother. No, inside my DNA. Anyways, Omar's personal trash items were legally obtained by Toltec investigations at her Washington, D.C. residence on numerous occasions to then be analyzed by Endeavor DNA laboratories. That is crazy. I mean, it's smart, but man. I guess the one thing that could put a hole in the investigation and could make it so that they need her to, you know, go on Jerry Springer is that the straw could have been of somebody else. How do they know that that straw was hers if it was in the trash? Unless she was living by herself, you know? But I mean, then again, like probably the straw was hers. Like I'm just trying to give her the 0.0000001% chance. After analysis of the samples, a full DNA profile was established from several collections of waste on public property. Oh, okay, so it's not just the straw. This included Coca-Cola cans. It's just funny to kind of like know that she drinks Coca-Cola and smokes cigarettes. It's like, I don't know why that's funny. Hair and cigarette butts littered from her personal vehicle. What? Littered from her personal vehicle? I thought they came from the trash can. Waste on public property. Are you just throwing cigarette butts around? Like you're gonna light somebody's house on fire. Literally! I've like known somebody whose house caught on fire because of a cigarette butt. Like you don't just throw cigarette butts out of a vehicle. This isn't like the 80s. What the hell? Not okay. I disapprove. While conducting surveillance operations over... Okay, so not only... All right, I'm back. Okay, so Coca-Cola cans, hair. I don't know why I'm laughing about the hair part. Can you confirm that the hair was hers? the only remaining hair. Just kidding. That's mean. Being mean again, guys. Not nice. Like I said in my last video, I ended my last video by saying, we're nice to everybody except communists. Okay. And like this woman, I think she's trying to destroy our country. So they got a hair. Just kidding. She has a more full head than what I'm depicting it as. Okay, I think without the hijab, she kind of looks more like her brother too. Just saying. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar smoking with her husband, Timothy Minette. Maybe that's the reason why they don't sell wine. Like they just drank it all. They just like smoke, drink. So she has a beanie on. I found it interesting that even like she's still wearing a beanie. You know, like she's still... Whatever. She can do whatever she wants, I guess, except everything that she's done, which is like not okay. Like you can literally do anything you want in America, but like then she just decides to like do a bunch of really horrible stuff and try to destroy the country. Surveillance photos conducted in DC over several weeks to obtain discarded items. So that's how they know that they were hers, because they weren't just like stuff they grabbed out of the trash. Like they had been watching her car, watched like cigarettes that were thrown out of the car. Ilhan Omar's personal vehicle. Wow, they have the VIN, they got the plates, crazy. The DNA recovered. I mean, she could totally change this car for, what was it, a Ferrari? What was the car that they were going to give to her if she just does a DNA test? A Ferrari. She could change that car, a Camry, for a Ferrari if she just takes the test. The DNA recovered from the address to 2 females of African ancestry, mother and daughter, and a Caucasian male. The mother is assumed to be Ilhan Omar, as she is the only adult female who resides at this address in Washington, D.C. Okay, so there you have it. She's the only one who's at the address. And a daughter. Okay, so obviously the Caucasian male is Tim Minette, this entrepreneurial genius. That's sarcastic. In the UK, investigators sought to also retrieve DNA evidence from Ahmed Nursaid Elmi, the alleged brother and ex-husband of Congresswoman Omar. So, like, what would happen if they take the DNA test of Ahmed and who that daughter is? What would it show? Elmi is a resident of London, England. A licensed investigation firm in the UK was retained to legally collect waste for testing analysis with Congresswoman Omar's specimens collected in Washington, D.C. Ahmed Nur registered address is that. Her sister, who is confirmed now to be Congresswoman Omar's sister, Leila Elmi, is also a resident of this address. Other immediate Elmi family members in the UK include another sibling, Mohammed Nursaid Elmi, who resides at a separate address in London. Multiple samples containing bodily fluids and personal items were obtained legally through trash waste and litter from personal vehicles in Washington, D.C. and the UK. So there we have the cigarette butt. I bet they regret throwing that one out. And, you know, just like more trash that they got. Some type of note. I try to read this, but it's really hard to read. This is something Ilhan wrote and threw away, I guess. Very uniquely polarizing, if not with us, almost certainly against us. That's kind of a weird thing. Uniqueness of district, helpful to be extremely progressive. Is that what that says? No. Helpful to be extremely promise. Mess. What does that say? What does it say? I don't know. But also clouds vision of larger political realities. Wait, uniqueness of district, helpful to be extremely progressive, I'm going to guess, but also clouds vision of larger political realities, societies, realities sometimes can be a bubble. So we got uniqueness of district, helpful to be extremely progressive, but also clouds vision of larger political realities sometimes can be a bubble. She's self-aware. I don't know. Okay, yeah, that does say progressive, right? The progressive field can be alienating. Age, social media, only 10% of voters nationally are on Twitter. Bubble is underlined. So she's like, you're in a progressive bubble, or like only 10% of voters are in a Twitter bubble. What is winning? Was the APAC Twitter... What does that say? She writes like a doctor. Twitter... What does that say? Twitter... Snat? A him? Was the APAC Twitter sent a him? Anyways, I say yes. What does that say? Somebody says she's sending secret notes. Oh, Senate. That says Senate? Okay. Was the APAC Twitter Senate a him? A him? Does it? I say yes. Okay. I like how she asks a question and she's like, yes. Discarded handwritten notes. Crazy. That's crazy. Can't believe this investigation went like this far. Surveillance photos of Ahmed Nurset Elmi on his Instagram matching the same sweater as he's seen recently in May of 2021. Guys, these people like became an entire FBI to do this investigation. Yep, that is the same sweater. That's the same person. Looks like the same guy to me as well. Sitting at like a Starbucks or something. The below DNA siblingship report shows full siblingship match between the DNA samples collected at the residence of Ilhan Omar in Washington, D.C. and the residence of Ahmed Nurset Elmi in the UK. It's like everything really matches and comes together with their investigation. Omar lived with both Hersey and Elmi at the same time. Omar has stated the following publicly. Oh boy. In 2002, when I was 19 years old, is this the thing that we already read? Yeah. Omar's first claimed that she and Ahmed Hersey underwent an Islamic divorce to end their relationship in 2008 cannot be reconciled with their official address record. Consider the following, okay? From 2002 until 2009, Omar lived in a series of apartments in Minneapolis with Ahmed Hersey. Okay, so that's the guy that she was never finalized and were never legally married and ended their relationship on like a faith thing, but she lived with him in a series of apartments. In 2009, Ilhan Omar married British citizen Ahmed Nurset Elmi. In August of 2009, records show that both Omar and Ahmed Nurset Elmi left Minnesota, moving to that place. The record found that Elmi did not include the apartment number. However, records show that Ahmed Hersey moved there too. That's awkward. In August of 2009, Ahmed Hersey, so she herself said that she had been in a relationship with that guy, like intimate, but they ended it on a faith style thing and were never legally married. So like she was like living with an ex and her new husband. In August 2009, Ahmed Hersey is recorded at the place. Omar, her Islamically divorced first husband, and her second husband are all recorded to live at the same apartment at the same time. That reminds me of a song. It's like, but it's in Spanish. It's like, he just says like he's in love with like 4 women. Like she couldn't choose, I guess. Okay. Again, it's one of those scenarios where either it's her brother or like also she has 2 husbands. I know that in Islam, like they can have 4 wives, but she's like, feminism. I'm reversing the roles. In February 2010, both Omar and Ahmed Hersey are recorded as having moved there. Records show that Ahmed Elmi, Omar's legal husband, appears at the new address 9 months later. Interesting. To summarize, thank you. This is a lot. Address records show that Omar lived at the same address with the man she claimed to have divorced and the man she was legally married to concurrently, and that she did this twice. Omar stated that her relationship with Ahmed Elmi only lasted from 2009 and 2011, but address records show she spent more of that time living with Ahmed Hersey. Indeed, she may have lived with Hersey continuously during her entire marriage to Ahmed Elmi. It's weird that like reading the lifestyle of like legally, okay, we have legal papers, legally married, legally not. Then we have like residency. And then we have, like relationship or like something abstract. And how that is so similar to like the business pattern. How like this business is supposed to be in this location. The business is legally registered by these people, but like it doesn't actually operate. And then they say it's operating out of here, but then they claim that it operates online, like magically, like abstractly. And so it's just like these continued patterns of just like deception or like, look this way, and they're doing something else, Years before this scandal was publicized on the Somali message board, Omar herself confirmed that Ahmed Hersi was with her in North Dakota. Perhaps more importantly, Omar also explained what they were doing in Fargo. The following passage appeared in a local Minneapolis news outlet in 2013, within an article titled Refugee Parent Sense of Home in Minneapolis Neighborhood School. After having started their daughter Isra, right? Isra's the one who is like loves communism, like proud communist, right? Okay, this is getting interesting. I just want to say, somebody says, thank you from Boston. Very much appreciated. Boston. I'd love to go to Boston. I like here it's beautiful, but I've just never been. And so thank you. I appreciate your support from Boston. Hope you guys are keeping warm. All right. After having started their daughter, Isra, in kindergarten in Minneapolis, Omar and her husband, Ahmed Hersi, moved to North Dakota so that Omar could finish her bachelor's degree in political science. Okay, so her daughter is in kindergarten in Minneapolis. Meanwhile, Omar and her husband moved to North Dakota so she can study. From 2009 to 2011, Omar was enrolled in North Dakota State University in Fargo. British citizen Ahmed Leila Elmi was also enrolled at NDSU during this period. And although they did not legally divorce until 2017, this 2-year stretch covers virtually the entire period during which Omar claims she and Elmi were in a relationship. Federal student aid applications, or FAFSAs, are treated differently by loan officers if an applicant is married. Loan officers are not allowed to consider the assets of a married applicant's parents when consulting the loan terms. Fewer assets demonstrate greater need and likely will result in loan terms more favorable to the applicant. Fewer assets, okay. All right, are we getting to the assets part? Legal authority for the prosecution of Omar. So like they had incentive here to show low assets. Omar committed numerous criminal offenses, elements of marriage fraud. Marriage fraud is committed by an individual that enters a marriage for a purpose of evading a provision of the immigration laws. To prove marriage fraud, the government show that the defendant knowingly entered into the marriage for the purpose of evading any provision of the immigration laws. Nothing in the statute's plain language indicates that a person need actually apply for immigration benefits to violate the statute. Instead, all of the elements of the marriage fraud are satisfied when the defendant enters into the marriage. Statute of limitations for marriage fraud. Because of the text itself does not reference a specific statute of limitations, the statute of limitations is a general 5-year federal statute. Except as otherwise expressly provided by law, no person shall be prosecuted, tried, or punished for any offenses not capital unless the indictment is found or the information is instituted within 5 years after such offense has been committed. Statutes of limitations normally begin to run when the crime is complete, and that principle applies to the offense of marriage fraud. The plain language of the marriage fraud statute cannot plausibly be read to require that a defendant take the additional step of filing for immigration benefits in order for the crime to be complete. Therefore, the crime of marriage fraud is complete in the 5-year statute of limitation begins to run on the date the parties were married rather than on the date the parties filed for benefits. Immigration Nationality Act. Marriage fraud is thus not a continuing offense. According to Minnesota Public Records, Omar was married to Elmi on February 12th, 2009. Because her marriage to Elmi occurred more than 10 years ago, the statute of limitations for marriage fraud may bar prosecution of her for that offense. Wow. Other immigration fraud offenses. Statute of limitation for other immigration offenses. Federal law extends the general federal statute of limitations from 5 years to 10 for the following immigration offenses in the conspiracy to commit them: obtaining citizenship or naturalization illegally, using false or fraudulent citizenship papers, impersonating another as an applicant, declarant, petitioner, or witness in citizenship or naturalization proceedings. Nationality, citizenship, passports. No person shall be prosecuted, tried, or punished for violation of any provision of sections 1423 to whatever, inclusive of chapter conspiracy to violate. The public does not know whether Elmi applied for a green card. Only he, Omar, and the U.S. government knows for sure. Okay. The public does not know whether Elmi applied for a green card. Only he, Omar, and the U.S. government knows for sure. Reportedly, both ICE and the FBI have opened files into this matter. Presumably, these organizations know. If Elmi did, in fact, apply for a green card based on his fraudulent marriage to his sister, Omar, then she violated one or more of the above immigration offenses. Depending on when Elmi applied for a green card, the statute of limitations may not have yet expired. Wow. That was a mouthful. What do you guys think? It's pretty crazy, right? Oof. So, student loan. So that's like one thing. That's what I've been noticing too. It's like, if there was, and again, the reason why people specifically to Ilhan Omar would like to see her not in Congress, at the very least, is because of just like how she doesn't really like America. And she just doesn't seem grateful for being here. And she's just trying to abolish ICE. And she planned this attack on herself, you know? And so we're like, okay, no, we don't like this. Like, there's no reason why you should have the power to run these Democrat organizations, these socialist organizations, and, you know, try to dictate foreign policies. Like, for some reason, she's just been given too much power because of the whole, like, religion thing, and nobody can tell her anything. But then meanwhile, when you're looking into, like, reasons, legitimate reasons why she shouldn't be in Congress, there's so many different, like, paths. So again, at the beginning of this video, I was like, we need to focus on, like, what's the core issue. I mean, one of them, I think, is something that, like, a lot of people feel, and that's just that it's just so incompatible. Like, the culture of the way that she's doing things is just incompatible. And it's probably sucks for, like, the people of Minnesota who are like, oh, we're getting this bad stereotype of being like fraudsters and stuff. And some people are actually running legitimate businesses, but like she's giving them that like perception. And so it's really making the cultures just seem incompatible. All right, let's get to the student loan part. They prohibit making false statements in a matter within the jurisdiction of any department of the U.S., including federally insured student loans. Those statutes do not require that any money actually be obtained. Additionally, prohibits obtaining federally granted funds by fraud or making false statements. Therefore, that crime is not complete until the defendant or co-conspirator obtains the loan fraud. I said. The statute of limitations for these offenses is 5 years. To prove a conspiracy, the government must prove these things. Statute of limitations for conspiracy can, in some cases, lengthen the statute of limitation for, I'm saying statute of limitations a lot, including a conspiracy to commit a federal offense, defraud the U.S. The statute to charge Omar with conspiracy to commit immigration fraud Under that, the government would need to identify an action she took to further the conspiracy within the last 10 years. Omar's filing from 2017 was an act in furtherance of the conspiracy, and she married him in 2018. What other possible motive could Omar have had for marrying and then divorcing her brother other than immigration fraud or student loan fraud? Why else would she marry her brother and live with him while still living with her first husband and conceiving a child with him? Maybe he was like a maid. Just kidding. Those are great questions. What other possible motive? What other possible motive could Omar have had for marrying and then divorcing her brother, Elmi, other than immigration fraud or student loan fraud? Why else would she marry her brother? Yes. Why else would somebody marry their brother? I don't think there's any reason to marry a brother. Right? So what other reason could there be? Like, that has to be the most like embarrassing, horrible thing to marry your brother. Like, I remember meeting someone and she was like, I went on a date one time and like they found out that they were distant cousins and they were just like mind blown, so embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, like never see each other again. So embarrassed, never ever talking again. That's like distant cousin. Like brother? So at least they didn't have any kids together, is my understanding from the whole thing. Why else would she marry her brother and live with him while she was with her first husband and conceiving a child with him, right? So the children come from non-brother, right? I've always wanted to confirm that. Because if not, like, oh. Aiding and abetting. Oh boy. The federal aiding and abetting statute states that a person who aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures the commission of a federal offense is punishable as a principle. A person is liable for aiding and abetting a crime only if he, 1, takes an affirmative act in furtherance of that offense, 2, with the intent of facilitating the other's commission. So these are like things that she is like in trouble for, you know? Direct evidence of a conspiracy is unnecessary. Each element may be inferred from circumstantial evidence. I mean, they have far exceeded circumstantial evidence. There's a lot of evidence. Statute of limitations for aiding and abetting. Okay, elements of tax fraud. Oh boy. It is a federal crime to willingly attempt in any matter to evade, defeat any tax imposed or the payment thereof, to willfully complete and sign as a tax return which the person does not believe to be true. The statute of limitation for all federal crimes is 6 years. The state of Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board has already determined that Omar violated state campaign finance laws for improper use of campaign funds. Ah. My goodness. You guys remember when we went to the WeWork building? And I was like, okay. And I was just like sitting around like researching stuff. I'm like, what? And there's like various businesses that come up and like another one. So there was, from my understanding, I believe again, there was Rose Lake Capital, Rose Lake. Was there Rose? I think there was another one that was like a full, like something else afterwards, like Rose Lake Investment or something, I believe. But I remember seeing a few of them. And then there was also E Street Group. There's like E Street Group, E Street Crew. Again, the fact that they named it off of the street is like so hilarious. And then like their business partner has C Street stuff. It's like, okay, that's really not creative for like a consulting company that is like, you know, they're doing so well and stuff. But so then like after looking at all these businesses, it's like, okay, how many of them actually operate though? And then one of them was E Street Group. Well, that was the winery. But that one, no, E Street, See, like they do a similar thing with like names too. Like, you know how like Ahmed Ali, whatever, Ahmed Ali, whatever, you know, like they change it, but they're like different people. But then these businesses are like Rose Lake Capital, Rose Lake this, Rose Lake that. And it's like, okay, but what business was this? Was it this one or that one? And so then they like, you do some confusing stuff like that too. So, but that campaign one, like Tim just had a consulting company. What was it called again? They also had other ones too. They had like Badland Ventures, Freedom Capital, or something like that are like also do consulting stuff. But they like, I don't know, do people just like, that's not normal? Like if somebody was like, I want to do this business, they do it and then they just do it. And like they just like commit their lives to making that business. But so yeah, I forget what that campaign one was named, but that was registered at a WeWork. Political consulting. All right, so I hope we're getting into like the business stuff. This is fun. Determined that Omar violated state campaign finance laws for improper use of campaign funds. She was forced to reimburse her campaign thousands of dollars. More significantly, the board discovered that the federal tax returns submitted by Omar for 2014 and 2015 were filed as joint with a man who was not her husband. She filed joint returns with Ahmed Hersi while she was actually married to Ahmed Elmi. Weird. A little bit weird. Thanks for the $5. I needed that right now. All right, let's get through this, guys. It has been reported that Omar filed amended tax returns. Why did she do so? Those amended returns are in custody of the IRS. Elements of perjury. Perjury is defined as making false material, not believing it to be true. Okay, so, you know, like stuff like that. Conclusion. Ilhan Omar must be investigated and prosecuted under U.S. Federal Criminal Code, Minnesota laws, and a formal House Ethics Committee investigation. This matter has gone ignored for far too long, and the constituents of Minnesota's 5th Congressional District deserve much better. That's it. Wow. Whew. That was 68 pages of evidence that Ilhan Omar married her brother. 68 pages. $10? Thank you. That's so kind of you. If only I could buy a boxed wine. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't drink wine. But man, those people went in on this investigation. They collected multiple items, Coca-Cola cans, a cigarette, hair. DNA came back as a mother and a daughter, and as a Caucasian male, Timonette. Ilhan was the only person who was living there, right? It was her DNA. They got the DNA in the UK of Ahmed. Still a little bit confused if the Ahmeds are the same person. No, they're not. Because they're different. One of them she dated, and one of them she married, right? I don't know. I feel like after having like gone really into it, I just feel a little bit frustrated. Because it should be something simple, you know? It should be like, okay, all right, good work, you say, Christ is king. Christ is king. I think that's the true answer to all of this. But thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you guys next time. And triple, quadruple check that you are subscribed. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Adios.